Welcome to the part 2 of unmounting the gearbox, which is the transmission from this Toyota Corolla 2015, and installing the drive chain. Okay, this is my mechanic. I was, of course, on ground to tell him exactly things to do and also what to observe. And that is him uncoupling, basically the things that he needs to get off that part of the car so that he can get access to the transmission and start unbolting it. So at this point, he had, really done most of the unbolting, and that was him trying to, uncouple the transmission, and eventually, that didn't take too much of a time, and thanks to his expertise, he was able to drop down the transmission, which is a gearbox. All right. This is a 12-pin gearbox for Toyota Corolla 2015. And these were the first set of guys that were helping to, try to uncouple that particular pulley system that houses the drive chain. So first, just for precautionary measures, you need to drain out your fluid, which is the transmission fluid, and know that your Toyota Corolla 2015, this particular edition uses the FE. So whatever, or if you're going for the transmission fluid, just make sure you go for the FE. And now they're transferring the transmission or the gearbox to the specialists who uncouple the gearbox so he can have access to the pulley, because our attention is to get the pulley out and change the drive chain, which is the K313 drive chain. And after much back and forth, we had to call on some other person to help us, and this is another guy. He's a great guy, so he had to ply open from the side, and eventually that was open in no time. And after much back and forth, just shaking because of the glue that was used, so just to keep it quite very firm when mounting. But this was the pulley system eventually that we got out. And there are bolts right underneath the pulley that you need to loosen the bolts so that these two pulleys can come off. And exactly that was what happened before we could get the two pulleys out. And next was how to take out the already worn out chain so we can replace our brand new K313 chain. And we needed some level of barring. So, and of course they didn't have that tool in their store or in their workshop, so we had to go somewhere else and use the barring mechanism just to stretch it a little bit so that we can, uncouple that and also mount the new chain. And that's exactly what he is doing right there. And, just a little back and forth trying to figure out which comes how and what. We were able to, just slip it in and try to, just make sure they stay in same level as we had uncoupled before, because I had to take different pictures just as references so that at a point like this I could still guide him. Okay, this is not what to do, what to avoid. And eventually that was sorted in no time, and he had to clean it with just because there were a lot of debris, dirt and all of that. I had to thoroughly clean the entire pulley before now trying to, of course, this is the mounting plate for the pulleys, and he was still trying to clean them up with gasoline. Yeah, so I don't recommend you use gasoline, but if you don't have any other cleaning agent, you can use that. So this is him trying to, make sure the belt now, because this is actually when he's trying to set the belt up before mounting it back on the mounting plate. So it is very important that you look at where on the belt there is an arrow. So if you're on mounting the first belt, make sure you note where the belt is facing. So it's more like a position of run, where the belt would be facing at its rotation. So it's just a guide. So, okay, this was the mounting process, and you know, it just didn't happen easily because we didn't have any tools to, easily uncouple and mount. It was just, bare technique, and okay, so eventually he was able to fix that, and we had to still do the thorough cleaning because, of several tries of trying to mount the pulley on the base of the system. And don't forget, in a little just tapping here and there just to make it settle, into its position properly. And yeah, this was it, fully ready and also bolted from underneath. So at this point, we're ready, already to mount, and he had put up the gum around the edges on the gasket just to form some type of gasket on it. And before then, they are Muslims, so they needed to pray. This is about 12-ish, about 12 or 1 o'clock or so. So, and this is one of the junior boys in the mechanic workshop trying to mount that. And in no time, he was done with his prayers, and he had to catch up to try to mount the transmission back into the car, because at this point I didn't want this was a day stuff, and I didn't want to waste more than a day. And this was the excitement he had because everything was now smooth. I didn't hear that clunking sound on the low ends of the gear, because actually the problem is always on the low ends. If you're cruising, you have that.